Have you ever noticed how a cat changes the emotional rules of a room? Someone sits on the floor beside it, not calling, not grabbing, just waiting. To one person, that silence feels like peace. To another, it feels cold. But what if loving cats is less about pets and more about how you do connection? In psychology, we learn to watch how people respond to independence, subtle cues, and chosen closeness. If you're a cat person, you may be fluent in a quieter kind of love. In psychology, we often read a person's emotional style through what they do with space, autonomy, and nonverbal signals. Cats are basically a living lesson in those dynamics. They move slowly, they choose when to approach, and they never reward pressure with closeness. So when someone says they love cats, it can hint at the kind of bond they feel safest in. Less performative, more consent-based, and quietly deep. That is the lens for the traits we're about to explore. Cat people often develop emotional attunement, the ability to read microsignals that most people miss. A slight shift in posture, a softer voice, a longer pause. They notice it, and instead of rushing to fix the feeling, they tend to stay present. In relationships, that looks like listening without interrogating, offering steadiness without pushing someone to talk before they are ready. When a friend is hurting, they might sit beside them, ask one careful question, then give the silence room to do its work. The upside is that people feel seen, not managed. The risk is burnout, because sensitivity can turn into carrying emotions that were never yours to hold. Cats teach a blunt, relational truth. The more you force closeness, the more distance you create. That is why many cat lovers develop boundary intelligence. They are less likely to control, guilt, or pressure someone into connection. Instead, they respect another person's inner pace and personal space while staying emotionally available. In real life, that can look like asking, "What do you need from me right now?" rather than insisting on a conversation that the other person is not ready for. In love, they may not be the loudest partner, but they are often the steadiest. Clear boundaries reduce resentment because support becomes a choice, not an obligation. And that stability is what makes relationships last. Many cat people have a rich inner world, and they are unusually comfortable with quiet. Solitude does not automatically register as loneliness for them. It can feel like home. They tend to reflect, imagine, and process emotions internally before they speak, which often makes them less reactive and more self-regulated. In a group, they might talk less, but they notice more. They remember details, patterns, and shifts in mood that others skip over. The strength here is depth and calm. The tension is accessibility. When your inner life is crowded and vivid, people can misread your silence as distance. Learning when to externalize what you feel can turn that inner richness into real intimacy. Cat lovers often seek authenticity because they can feel when connection turns into performance. Small talk has its place, but too much social masking drains them fast. They would rather have one honest conversation than a dozen polished exchanges that never touch anything real. In relationships, this shows up as a preference for sincerity, subtlety, and emotional truth over image management. They are sensitive to forced friendliness, hidden agendas, and the quiet pressure to act like you are fine. When the environment is genuine, their nervous system relaxes, and their emotional energy lasts longer. That is why, with the right people, they connect deeply. They are not bonding with a persona, they are bonding with the person underneath. Cats are affectionate, but not on a fixed schedule. Some days they curl up close, other days they keep their distance, and cat people learn not to panic about that rhythm. Psychologically, this often maps onto adaptive empathy and emotional flexibility. They understand that closeness can expand and contract depending on stress, energy, and timing. In relationships, they are less likely to interpret a quiet day as rejection and less likely to chase reassurance the moment the vibe shifts. That steadiness makes them resilient partners. Still, flexibility is not limitless tolerance. The mature version is knowing the difference between natural ebb and flow and a pattern of disrespect. So if you love cats, your strength might be a kind of quiet devotion, calm, patient, and boundary respecting. The world often rewards the loudest love, But deeper love usually comes from people who know how to listen, wait, and stay steady without taking over. Now I want to hear from you. Which trait fits you most? Emotional attunement, boundary intelligence, a rich inner world, authenticity seeking, or emotional flexibility? Follow for more psychology content, and send this to the quietly intense person in your life who gets misunderstood but actually just feels deeply.